Hello everyone. So this is going to be a very different video, a very new one. I've done similar videos like this before, but this is probably the first time I'm really going to get a little more political than usual. So just a warning to anybody who's going to watch this. If you're not comfortable with being questioned and challenged on your views that could most likely, 90% of the time be incorrect or incomplete in its reasoning, you can leave. Or nicely go into the comment section and tell me why you disagree. I'm not here to fight. I'm not here to insult supporters. I'm not here to insult thinkers and debaters. I'm here to insult the people in power that are responsible for a lot of these actions or for the lack of action, and the people that outright were involved in many of the events that are taking place in our country right now that there are people in the streets for. So if you are uncomfortable with that and feel like you have to insult me for not saying exactly what you wanted to hear, please leave. I don't want to deal with your bullshit. That's not what I'm here for. So a week ago, a great tragedy hit the city of Minneapolis when an innocent bystander, George Floyd, was murdered. Murdered by, a lot of people would just put at one, but I would put all the four involved, 4 different police officers, for what started as first the idea of him having a false check to then being a false $20 bill. Both cases were proven wrong, but whether right or wrong, and if the guy was a thief or a falsifier of income or not, he was murdered for falsifying a check or a dollar. His life was taken away. You probably all have seen the video at this point, because I'm far from the first person to ever talk about this. Watch that in real life to see a young guy with so many people around him to be begging for his life and to slowly watch him perish for nothing is the most frustrating, disturbing thing to see. And it did not help more to then find out that this guy had a family, and the reason he left his old city, in fact in the first place, was because of the idea of wanting to find a better life. And that would be the thing that took it away. It's a tragedy. It's a true national tragedy and a true sign of injustice and mishandling of justice that has been in our criminal justice system for many years. But it was believed that this problem was solved back in the 1960s when the Civil Rights Movement happened, and it was assured that the justice system would never mishandle something like that ever again and allow these traitors to their system to ever be around. But it seems that in the year 2020, when we got politicians that deny basic shit like climate change and helping out your fucking people, and even fighting over the fact if a gun or not should be at a school at all, I went there, it seems that anything can happen. It's not the fact that one guy was murdered. If it was one guy, this would have ended in a day or 2 at best. People crying for blood, and for this guy to be either executed or in prison, done, never worried about again, never mentioned again. A footnote in history. Yet, this has been something continuously happening now for a week at this point, where there need to see people online denying it. Even somehow, I saw one post that was so disturbing of the guy saying, if you're a criminal, expect to be punished. As if the people that suffered this deserved it and had it coming. It's what's sickening and it's disturbing to see that people are outright making these legit claims and finding a way around it and excusing them or just outright denying it. Which is what has been disturbing me, and that I want to start calling out. That it's been a problem for years, especially on conservative news vlogs or news reports. One of the most infamous of them is Fox News, and one of the most infamous other organizations is PragerU. These people, for years, have been almost on this near witch hunt, like if it's the 1950s again, to call anybody that doesn't agree with them 100%, see eye to eye to them, and demonize them as crazy commie scum. That word hasn't even left, which is amazing. Crazy liberals, SJWs, feminazis, and thugs, which is the big word that they're using today. Because obviously ever since this happened, there has been a great hope of uproar and demand for justice for what happened last week. But yet, when you go on those news sites, please, you don't have to take my word. I encourage everybody watching this video right now, go on Fox News, go on these conservative reporters, see what they are posting about, see how they're reporting it, how they're taking these events, and how they're wording it, how they're framing it, and how they're setting it all up. Not once on them did I see a genuine attempt to report the protesters that are out there fighting for the justice of people that were murdered. Instead, what they're doing is showing all the images of the riots, the destruction of buildings that have been shown evidence to have been done by the very police that are supposed to control them themselves. Watch this video for proof. And instead, they are setting all these people up as thugs, criminals, scum that deserve to get the National Goddamn Guard and military called upon them. Which, at that point, is why I'm so worried about even some of my friends out in the protests is, what do you think they're going to send the National Guard and Army for? What is their purpose? The purpose of them is always to be sent when things get so bad and the situations are so uncontrollable that the very police force that was trained to handle it can't handle it, gets sent. Not just with different men, but with the bigger guns, the bigger vehicles, and in some instances, in most, goddamn tanks. Now, a lot of people, including some of my own friends, have been claiming so many times, innocently, that they're just using them to scare the people. Why would you need a goddamn tank to scare someone in the first place? And do you really think a government, a state, would send something as expensive and as grand as a military tank just to play psychological games on people? They're gonna use them. And it's not gonna be on the rioters and looters like fucking Jake Paul, which is fantastic, which have been already doing it hidden in the shadows. That's the point of looting and rioting. You don't want to get caught doing it. Would have ran off already days ago once they were announced. And it was going to be left in the streets? The protesters, fighting for justice, demanding something to change. They're the ones that are going to take the bullet. It's going to be no different like the Detroit riots in the 1960s. It's going to be no different than any big riot that's happened in this country, honestly, for the last, 8 decades. A lot of it is going to be blamed on the very people that went out there to want to prevent more of this in the first place, when it should be blamed on so many of these disgusting, manipulative, and disingenuous reporters and politicians that claim to want to serve the people and have honored the code to serve the people, just like those cops that committed those actions on George Floyd. Instead betrayed that honor, are abusing the very people that they swore to protect. I don't want to see anything like this happen again, and I'm really nervous for the next generation. This was supposed to be, despite all this pandemic happening and continuing to happen, a celebration of the next step in my life, and for many other people, to either make this world a better place or protect the great world we already had. But now it seems like we're going to have to go on making the world a better place as our option. Because this world's going down in flames right now. I'm really nervous about the future. But I know the people that are responsible for my nervousness in the first place. I hope people start recognizing that. We stop this partisan bullshit of pretending it's left versus right, when it should be abuse of power versus innocent and justice. That's all it ever should have been. But now, our own bullshit is going to have its very own consequences. I hope things get better, but right now, to be honest, very nervous for the future. Be careful of what you read. Be careful of what you're informed by. And always check on what you're reading. Or on what you're watching. Fake news is a genuine problem. I know the president that we have now loves to tweet about it and bitch about it every time somebody disagrees with him or doesn't like him as much. But it's a genuine problem. And it's ironically by the people that whine about it so much. When people are ever questioned by something and have to freak out about it and never answer their damn question, that's when you know there's a problem, and they probably have a different agenda to what they are actually claiming. And those problems can grow. Fires start small, but they will grow. This is our wildfire right now that we're dealing with. Injustice and corruption in our very country that claims so much to be the beacon of hope of justice and anti-corruption. We gotta start calling it out, because it's not going to get better if we don't. Things will only get worse. And we can't pretend like we didn't know why, if that's the case. Thank you all for watching this video. Black Lives Matter. Justice for Floyd. And I hope you all have a good day. See you guys.